Yep.
Good morning, councillors, staff, media and members of the public gallery. Welcome to the first Federation Council meeting in Urannah. Federation Council wishes to advise the members of the public that council meetings will be recorded and will be available after each meeting on council's website. All care will be taken to maintain the privacy of those in attendance. However, as a visitor in the gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the public gallery, it is assumed your consent is given in the event your image is broadcast. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting today, the Bangarang people, and acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who now reside in this area. I extend that respect to elders past and present of the Bangarang nations. Now call for apologies and applications for leave by councillors.
One there, Mr Mayor, from Councillor Law.
Councillor Law.
Thanks, yeah.
On the 20th of May 2019 to the 28th of May 2019.
That's the May Council.
May Council meeting. Okay, thank you. Can we have a move for those apologies, please? Moved by Councillor Wales, seconded by Councillor Kennedy. All in favour? Against? Carried. Applications, confirmation of minutes of the last meeting. Would someone like to move those minutes? Moved by Councillor Meagle, seconded by Councillor Longley. All in favour? Against? Carried. Disclosures of interest.
Have two, Mr Mayor. Excuse me. We've got Councillor Kennedy declared a significant pecuniary interest in item 10.12, Oaklands Medical Centre tender, due to being a part owner of a firm who's submitted a tender. And we've got Alana Greenwood, Team Leader Communications, has declared a significant non-pecuniary interest in item 10.4, being the tender for the award of vegetation management services, due to her family owning a business submitting a tender in that report. So those two have been tabled.
Thank you. Would someone like to move to be noted? Thank you. Moved by Councillor Longley, seconded by Councillor Law. All in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, we'll now move on to the Mayoral Minute, which gives me the great honour to introduce our new directors. We'll start off with, if you wouldn't mind standing, Joe, just for a second, just to highlight you. Director of Corporate Community, Joe Shanahan. Ladies and gentlemen, Shannon, I'm sorry. I'll get used to that. And I'll run through Susan Appleyard, Director of Development and Environment. Welcome, Susan. And Steve Carmichael, Director of Engineering. Would you join me in giving them a round of applause? Thank you very much. And I hope you enjoy your time in Federation. And also, while we're on that Mayoral Minute, I'd have to congratulate Councillor Longmire on his Federation Council shirt today. Looks fantastic, Councillor Longley. Councillor Longley might take a leaf out of your book in the near future. Okay, someone like to move that Mayoral Minute, please. Moved by Councillor Kennedy, seconded by Councillor Wales. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Okay, we'll now move on to the General Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Report 7.1 is the June Ordinary Council meeting workshop and briefing session, and it also outlines the budget information session. So just for Council's information and seeking endorsement to postpone the June meeting from the 18th of June as normally would be held, putting that back a week to the 25th of June, allows our exhibition of the budget and the delivery program to be effected and brought back to a council meeting without the need for an extraordinary meeting. So there's a recommendation there being that, and that therefore is also brings forward, or put back a week, sorry, our June policy and resource briefing session to be now proposed to be on the Monday the 17th of June. Our June councillor workshop, which are always after the council meetings, would therefore be on the 25th of June. And also note the budget information sessions that are planned for Cora, How Longmire, Whyalla, Oaklands, Rand and Urannah. So we're just going to be going out on our budget exhibition roadshow sessions, and there's a series of times and dates there for the public's information. We'll be doing a lot of communication off the back of this report as well. So that's there for Council's consideration.
Thank you. I'll have a mover, Councillor Law, seconded by Councillor Longley. Any questions or comments, councillors? If not, I'll put it all in favour. Against? Carried.
7.2 is headed up provision of expenses and facilities for the Mayor and the Councillors policy, partial review and a recommended change for exhibition. So this report talks to some clarity that we were seeking around some reimbursement provisions that are in the Councillor and Mayor's policy. So this essentially, the attachments are meant to provide the Council, and this essentially just puts clarity around where a councillor is away specifically on their own work business and they are required to travel back to attend workshops, meetings or other council sanctioned events or activities. This gives clarity to the fact that this is recommending, based on the intent, what we thought of the policy, that the councillor would be eligible to be reimbursed for that travel, whether that be in their own car or their employer's car. So there's some wording there that does reflect that. We consider it reflects it quite clearly, and being a public interest, we are recommending we do exhibit that policy for 28 days.
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Longmire, seconded by Councillor Law. Any questions or comments, councillors? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.
7.3 is a report seeking the common seal for our authorised officers for a couple of new officers to be delegated under the Swimming Pools Act 1992. So that's one of the few direct pieces of legislation where the council do endorse directly to a staff member. So the recommendation there is to bring forward some delegations for Jacqueline Nagel, who's our trainee building surveyor, and also, as mentioned earlier, our new director in the planning and the development environmental, Ms Susan Appleyard. So the recommendation is there that we affix a seal to those certificates to allow those delegations to occur.
Moved by Councillor Meagle, seconded by Councillor Thomas. Any questions or comments? Councillor Meagle.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just, I think it's probably worthy of note that it's great to see the trainee program at council working and the effect that young Jacqueline's had in taking on that extra learning and getting that qualification and available to take on that responsibility augurs well for the future of council. Young local girl who's now developing a career path within Federation Council, which is good to see.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Meagle. Councillor
Yeah, Mr Mayor, if I can endorse Councillor Meagle's words there, my thoughts are the same. I think it's credit to the management of our council that we're giving a little bit of ownership and making these trainees that we've put some time and effort into, that they're now going to be rewarded and not just sit back in the process for the next few years. They're actually taking on valuable positions within council. So congratulations to all of them.
Thank you, Councillor Watchers.
Thanks. Yeah, the planning, especially, we've also got a planning trainee who's going great guns, and planning and building surveying are known to be really scarce in the industry. So I think it's been a great move by the staff to give those locals and the locals themselves that are having a real go with their studies to make a good career out of that. Yeah.
Excellent. I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.
7.4 is an update report on the Bull Park Caravan Park corridor, updated as at 11th of April 2019. I've headed up some headings there in the section because the recommendation is really just to note the update report. I will just briefly outline where the council are up to. So in March 2019, the council resolved a number of resolutions which are there in the report. We're working through, council are now working through a staffing model to take effect post June 30. So from July 1 onwards, the council will be engaging staff to manage the park. We're also getting close to finalising our master plan process to go and call for expressions of interest or quotes, more likely to be, engaging a firm to do a master plan for the entire park, and that will be a key piece of work to inform the future of the park, and really it'll be our key engagement piece. We work through to engage with our many existing site holders and also the wider community, the broader community of Cora and surrounds, and the councillors, other stakeholders that want to be a part of that journey as to how that park does come back to fruition. And the park obviously will continue throughout this period with the cabins being used as well as powered sites, and we're working through on a day-by-day basis the process around those existing site agreements. Since the March 2019 meeting, we have received a report from Cora Tree Care on the condition of some of the trees in the park. The report didn't cover the entire park trees, but the scope worked towards some of the more urgent removals. So I am just highlighting the council's information, but also to flag that we will be seeking and we will be using some budgeting funds to endorse removal of some of those more urgent trees that have been highlighted in that report, as well as reduction of height of some of the other trees that are in there. So it is a report that doesn't cover the full depth and breadth of the trees within the park, but it will be outlining based on a risk process. We do need to get pretty quickly on the trees that have been identified in there. So, and just talking through the annual agreements process, it's obviously the biggest thing that we're dealing with, and we fully respect the many requests that we've had from the existing annual site holders about what the future is for them, and we've had over 60 customer requests already where we're seeking, or we're fielding requests, and then we're seeking to get summaries of all those specific questions they're asking and getting a real consistent message out. We'd love to be one-on-one more so, but we need to make sure we're really consistent and measured and timely with our responses so that everyone's getting the same message. So that's occurring as we go through the process, and it's also tied up with the fact that existing agreements are signed by the current managers of that park who end their contract in June 30, so there's a lot of work been going on around that process as well. And that's just there for council's information. Or any questions or comments?
Move to note, please. Moved by Councillor Whitechurch, seconded by Councillor Meagle. Councillor Longmire.
I think as a seconder to the motion that back at the March meeting, I think item number 3 in that resolve that council will not renew any occupancy agreements in the ballpark caravan park post 30 June 2019. I think that's some of the consternation. I've missed it. We should have said that. There should have also added that there'd be consultation with the people that are the anglers, and for anybody that's, you know, and I know there are a lot of them, and they've got the perception that it's to be just kicked out. I apologise for that opportunity of not making sure we had that correct, because I was a seconder. So yeah, it's something that the management will get on top of and secure the opportunity for these people under guidance on the report and the master plan and everything else that comes together. But I really think that's where the consternation got and where it started from. And anyway, so we're moving forward, and I think we'll work at it together.
Thanks, Councillor Longmire. Councillor Whitechurch.
Mr Mayor, in light of Councillor Longmire's comments, and I think Mr Butler's just highlighted the fact that it's going to be a very big job, and there's going to be a lot of pain, and the pain's obviously with some people that have been part of our community for over 30 years. We've heard Councillor Law was an owner or a leaser of the park way back, and some of those people she still would know from her time in the park, and local people in Corowa see these people at the golf course. We're all getting emails as councillors regarding things that are happening, and they're quite often getting CC'd to the management. And I think the fact that we're communicating as heavily as we can, and we've got to keep that up. We've certainly got to keep that line of communication up. We're all getting emails of people wanting to come on as advisors or be helping in the process. There is a lot of positive talk about it. A lot of the annuals are talking positive. They just want to be informed, and they want to know that they're going to have an opportunity to come back to the ballpark caravan park that they've called home every Easter and Christmas. So I agree, yes, let's move forward. It is going to hurt, but let's keep that line of communication open as much as we can, both to our annuals and to our locals, because the obviously innuendos and the things that are talked about evictions and all that sort of thing's got to be made clear as to why we're doing it and how the whole picture is going to be so much better at the end. But hats off to everybody so far.
Councillor Meagle.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In light of my fellow councillors' comments, I'd just like to highlight the third heading there, the tree removal. There lies in the crux of the issue, and whilst Mr Butler and his team will soon be knowing out or finalising the budget, we need to make allowance for some funds to do this tree, because the risk here is really quite unacceptable, and it also needs to be communicated to everybody concerned that here lies in the crux of why we're doing what we're doing, because those trees are a significant risk, and somewhere we've got to find the money to do that, because we really can't afford to leave it the way it is, and make sure that tree repatriation is done as effectively as possible to make a safe park going forward in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Meagle. Anything further, councillors? If not, I'll put it all in favour. Aye. Against? Carried.
So that's the end of the GM reports.
Now we'll move on to the Director of Corporate and Community Services report. Thank you, Jo.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for the warm welcome this morning. At 8.1, there is a statement of bank balances and a reconciliation to the general ledger as at the 31st of March 2019. This report is recommended to you for the noting today.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Longmire, seconded by Councillor Neal. Questions, comments? Councillor Thomas.
I'm going to joke that we really look forward to receiving your report at our next council meeting in May. And some of us in the room had the opportunity to do some financial training last week, which was really exciting. So we actually were able to look at not only our own financials, but we're also able to compare financials from other councils as well. And some of the ideas that our presenter gave us were really on point, especially with how sometimes our financials are presented to us within our business papers. And he gave us this really great example out of Parramatta, and it's called a dashboard. And what you do is you put into the dashboard, we have input what we want to see each month, which I thought was really exciting, especially when you look at some of, that lovely column graph that we do have presented today and that has been presented to us every month. But we really probably need to delve deeper into what that's actually telling us, and we just thought this dashboard was a really good way to do that. And I just would like other fellow councillors probably to have a look at it at some stage as well. So I think we need to be drawing more out of our financials and what we're receiving, especially when, say, you look at the Strong Communities column. I mean, what's that telling us? It tells us that we have about $14 million there, but it's not actually telling us anything. And the other point of call too, from our bus tour, we really felt that we probably need more regular updates, whether it's a spreadsheet in the back of our business papers, what's actually happening in a lot of our on-the-ground projects at the minute. Food for thought. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Any further conversation, councillors? If not, I'll put that one. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried.
Agenda item 8.2 contains a schedule of council's investments as at 31st of March 2019, so totaling just over $37 million. This report is also recommended for noting.
Moved by Councillor Longley, seconded by Councillor Neal. Any questions or comments, councillors? If not, I'll put it. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried.
Agenda item 8.3 is in relation to the proposed sale of land for unpaid rates. Council has a number of properties with unpaid rates, where those rates have remained unpaid for a period greater than 5 years. The Local Government Act provides Council with the ability to sell properties where the rates are outstanding for greater than 5 years, and that's the crux of this report in front of you today. There are 36 properties in the Federation Council area that have rates owing greater than 5 years. It is now proposed that these properties be sold to recover the unpaid rates and charges in relation to those properties. The description of the properties and the actual amounts due have been contained in the confidential agenda that was included with the papers, so you do have that information there, and the circumstances surrounding each of those properties. There are a number of requirements in the Local Government Act with respect to general manager certificates for each of the properties, and the timing of the process, the notifications. These matters have all been dealt with in the agenda report to ensure that we are complying with the Local Government Act. So, in summary, there is a recommendation before you to sell the 36 properties at public auction, with further detail on the timing, location, the public notification and the process contained in the detailed recommendation contained in today's agenda papers. So the full recommendation is now recommended to you for consideration.
Could I have moved by Councillor Longley, seconded by Councillor Thomas. Questions or comments, councillors? Councillor Law.
In the press today there was an article on this, and I'm sure that most people are aware that we do contact these ratepayers and try very hard to get them to pay their rates, to negotiate with them in a manner that is quite substantial, that they have every chance, and this is a last-ditch effort. And I just feel that the article in the newspaper didn't quite make that so obvious, and so I would just like it to be known that that is the case, that we have made every effort to receive those rates, and we're doing our best, and this is the last-ditch effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Law. Councillor Watcher.
Mr Mayor, certainly a very touchy item and something that nobody likes to have to make a decision on. As Joe had indicated, a lot of these figures have been over 5 years and some of them for a lot longer. Some of them obviously are vacant land and everything. It's not like there's 30 odd houses that are going to be put up for auction. The interesting thing there, as part of the Local Government Act, should this motion be passed to put these unpaid rate places up for sale, it's not going to happen tomorrow. As Councillor Law had brought to the attention of Council, these people have had a lot of time, a lot of notices, they've been sent to debt collecting agencies. It's not a pleasant time for anybody that gets that if you want to keep your house, clearly. What is, I think, quite, I guess not pleasing, but good to see is that it's not going to happen until the 17th of August. There's 3 months still to do something. You're not going to get an eviction notice tomorrow should this go through, but these people will still have 3 months to renegotiate some finance or acquire outside finance to save their premises, property, laneway, whatever might be putting up. I have done a little bit of background homework since this report to Council's attention, and the councils that have done this in the past, and we're not obviously the first council to do it, have found that a lot of the people that want to keep their block of land or their property find the money. I'm not saying that might be the case here, but in the time frame that's given, I think, as Councillor Law had said, there's certainly going to be some hardship, and we don't want that to happen to anybody. They've had a lot of time, but this gives them a decent chance to try and secure, whether it's family finance, personal finance, or something of the like, right up until 2 days before the actual auction. So, not a hard, not a good thing to be dealing with, but I think there's been enough time and enough notices given for some action to be taken by these people. So, hard, but I think we've got to move forward.
Thanks, Councillor Whitechurch. Point 5 says exactly that. Any that are paid in full will be withdrawn from the auction from before that time. So that is covered off on that for sure. Any further comments, councillors? If not, I'll put it. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much, Joe, for your... Oh, sorry, Joe, I didn't cut you short there.
Okay, Mr. Mayor. So, agenda item 8.4 relates to the additional land required to allow increased truck ingress and egress to the mobile service station on Honour Avenue in Corowa. So, council staff have been approached to sell some council-owned land to improve the truck ingress and egress to that particular business or service centre from that is adjacent to the Corowa Sale Yards complex. Council has previously sold a portion of the Corowa Sale Yards to enable this service station to be constructed in its current location. It became evident after opening that the tight turning radiuses into the site have made it difficult for the larger trucks to enter and exit the site. As a consequence, a request has come to council to purchase some additional land so that truck entry and exit can be improved at the site. There has been some discussions with the owners and the lessee of the site to progress this issue, and 2 options have been considered through those discussions. The first option is that the owner purchases the minimum amount of land required to improve the entrance and exit to the service station. So this would be a total of 82 square metres purchased, and under that option the owner has offered to pay council a per square metre rate of $62.25 per square metre, and that's the same rate that was applied to the land that has previously been sold to that landowner. The second option before council is that the owner purchases the entire particular lot, that is 3,432 square kilometres, and carries out the entry widening works on that particular area. So under that option, the owners have offered to pay council $150,000 for the entire lot of 3,432 square metres, and that equates to $43.71 per square metre. Under both options, the owner has agreed to pay council's reasonable legal costs and any out-of-pocket fees that would be incurred to council as a result of this transaction. The owner has requested that you consider both of these options at the council meeting today. If only one option is approved, then that will provide basis to progress the matter. If council approves both options, the owner is seeking to decide from that point which option they would pursue. After analysis by council officers, the report writers are now recommending that all the land be offered for sale to the owner, as selling only part of the land reduces the value of the land remaining. So the recommendation before you is that the entire parcel be sold to the current owner of the mobile service station, and that's the recommendation for your consideration.
Okay, I've got to move it. I moved by Councillor Whitechurch, seconded by Councillor Kennedy.
Just for process, I'll just tidy up. Thanks for that, Joe. I did this report obviously with help from our economic team prior to Joe's arrival. So we've just got in the recommendation that was in the business paper to determine an option, but Joe's very correct in detail. It does talk about the recommendation from staff would be to sell the entire parcel. We don't consider it would be of great value once they take further off that. It's totally the council's decision, but just to make sure the process, as he moved and seconded it, we'd need to put an option in there to make that clear.
Councillor Whitechurch.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, Mr Butler, I'd take on board your comments there, and I'd certainly like to see that the council adopt the option 2, which is to sell the whole parcel of land for $150,000 as per the balance of that option. And if I could just speak on that at the moment, I've been involved since that service station went in with the current tenant. I was called out there as Deputy Mayor on 2 occasions in the early days. Clearly there was access problems, and it became more apparent as the service station became more popular, and trucks, especially on sale days, etc., just can't get around the corner. You can't get in, you can't get out. Should the council have gone with the option 1 and gone with the bare minimum, I think our staff have congratulated them on identifying the fact that it probably still would have made a narrow entry by selling the whole parcel of land right to the fence. It was unusable by council what was left, and it now gives the both the developer and the tenant of the petrol station the opportunity to make their entrance exactly the way they wanted. It wasn't right at the start, and I take our hat off to council staff, and if we can push through to get this to happen as soon as possible, at the moment it appears quite detrimental to the truck flow into that service station. So I'd certainly, in moving that motion, support Holland Style and ask for universal support.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Wales.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I fully support Councillor Whitechurch's story. It'd be the ideal solution for access to be granted to this service station. Trucks are big nowadays, and the other term, so it's the ideal solution for this service station to continue on here.
Thank you, Councillor Wales. Councillor Longline.
A question for some clarity, please, Mr Mayor. In regard to the numbers that are mentioned here, we're talking about the move of the recommendation be 150,000, yet we've got a consideration of council officers to value it a lot more money. Total sale would be 400,000. I mean, why are we dealing with 150,000, not 400?
Right. I'm sorry. Would you like to speak to that?
Yes, I would.
Yeah, you're welcome, sir.
When you consider we're selling industrial land for $35 a square metre or thereabouts, I don't think somebody's going to buy that block of land for $100, $110 a square metre, and when they can buy one in the industrial land for $35. And to me, to be quite honest, I think the valuation of $400,000 for that block of land is rather excessive.
It was an appraisal, just make that clear. It was
Yeah,
only a market appraisal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't actually a valuation, it was only an appraisal.
The question I'd ask is, you've got one thing going for the site, and it's called position, position, position.
It has, but the 150 also includes all your legal costs, all the setting up of all your easements, and the whole works. So council's not out of pocket with that particular. If we sell it at that price, we're not out of pocket to any tune. And if somebody has somebody else that wants to go in there, another fast food chain or whatever it may be, fine. Otherwise, council's got to sit and maintain a bit, which has had a little bit more taken off it, and then we've got to sit there and say, and we could put it on the market, and when we've all retired, say, well, we never sold that block. We've got an offer to buy it, which I think is too good to refuse.
Okay, so there's a clarity, Mr Mayor.
Thank you.
And I might just add further clarity. I was quite around when that was going through. The block itself, subject land, would be contained services and easements, etc., that go into our sale yards. So in saying that a DA could still come forward from the owner or anyone else down the track, but it's not an unencumbered block that would be fully open to develop whatever you wanted on it. There's some services going through there that would need, obviously, to be managed through the DA process, so I don't think that appraisal is really reflecting of that either.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
No codes for the appraiser, should I say, obviously.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Ward?
I had earlier voiced my concern about parking for the sale yards, whether this would take away some parking, but I've been assured that there's plenty of parking at the rear for the sale yards, and to be left with a small portion of land that we can't use, that we need to maintain, I think is pointless. And I think it's a good idea that we sell that. It can make more parking then for the service station, and that could possibly be used then by the sale yards people as well. So I think it's a good move.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Meagle?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm taking on board all the comments from my fellow councillors. It's the pragmatic solution. I do want to just express my disappointment that if the original land was purchased at $60 a square metre while we're settling for 40, I acknowledge comments from the Director of Engineering regarding the value compared to the industrial land, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about this like to like, same land, and I'm a little disappointed that when the design was not done originally and they didn't buy the appropriate amount of land to do the job properly in the first place, that now council is wearing a reduced amount of the same amount of land. If it was good enough to pay $60 a metre originally, it should be good enough to pay $60 a metre now, regardless of the size.
I just make that clarity. He would pay the original price and only get what he needs.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's saying that's one of the options that he would take.
Exactly. But to sell all of it at a discounted rate, we only get a chance to sell our land once. And if it was good enough for $60 a square metre prior, it should be good enough for $60 a square metre now. So if he wants all of it, he should get all of it, but at the price. Just my thoughts, and I agree that it's a pragmatic solution to the situation. Just disappointed that we seem to be selling ourselves short.
Well, councillors, I suppose there's two issues now, because it seems like councillors are fairly well in favour to support this business, which obviously needs to be fruitful and make it actually happen. So I think that's really important to support. As the General Manager just pointed out, he is happy to pay the $60, the original amount, for enough land to ensure the trucks can go in there safely. The question is now, is the land that's left of any value to council? Or do we just, at $42 or $46, whatever it was, $43 per square metre, plus those costs, I would imagine would be heading up towards the $60 per square metre anyway, by the time he factors in his extra costs. So would anyone like to comment on whether it be the lot or that part? Councillor Whitechurch.
Mr Mayor, the right reply to the motion, taking on board exactly what my fellow Councillor Meagle has said. Clearly we don't want to be selling ourselves short at any given time. Also, Councillor Longmire brought up location. When that service station was put there, if that location was so good, somebody would have snapped that parcel of land up, if that was for sale. The little parcel of land that we're talking about, if you go out and have a look at it, should the developer or the tenant take the required amount of land at $60 odd a square metre, through our drawing that was presented to council through their paperwork, is basically a curved roadway in that's going to leave a very narrow block on the side of the hill that is going to be about 18 metres back from the roundabout exit. So you're not going to be able to come off the road there. You're going to be set back up on the hill, so your location is going to require rear access that's going to have to then turn in off the sale yard entry and the service station entry. It becomes a congestion nightmare, and there certainly wouldn't be enough room to put car parks should anybody buy a shop or anything there, or put a shop there. Certainly take on board why we're selling it, but when you go and buy a block of land at the bottom half's in a swamp, you're still going to have to pay the top money for it, and it's unusable. This is a situation on the other side of the coin where council's going to be left with a parcel of land that I think is unusable, and as our Director, Mr Carmichael, has insinuated, we're going to have to maintain it, we're going to have to mow it, and I'm sure that if it's surrounded by landholders, they're going to want it kept neat and tidy. so it'll be regular mowing and everything. So I stand by my motion that we sell the whole parcel of land, but take on board everything that's been said.
Councillor Whitechurch, just to clarify point 2, so that's been changed. The council select option 2 to pay council 150,000 plus GST for the entire PT lot as presented, and pay council's reasonable legal cost and pay any out-of-pocket fees, authority fees, registration costs, etc. And the council authorises common seal of council to be affixed in sale documents and associated documents. Is that in line with your?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, etc. at the end of that, clearly we take on board that that's going to be everything. Obviously our existing asphalt road into there at the moment is going to have to be merged and met. Do we need to be including in there that has to be made good, or do we accept that as etc. being that the asphalt meets the current standard, the curb follows it all through, and that our entire roadworks and development is in common with what we've got now?
I might pass that on to Steve. Would you like
Just
to
for
comment?
clarity.
Yeah, I just put a clause, I just put a few words in there to say that any alterations to the egress road be at the developer's cost. So, the ironical thing about this whole thing is we sat down with a meeting with him when he first came to council, and I said, why don't you consider road trains going in and out of this? And he said, they'll never be approved on this road. And I said, fair enough. But unfortunately, you can just see how many run through here, and they're approved right down, they're approved right through to Mulwala. So, and again, I think even the parcel of the sliver of land that he's got, to be quite honest, I think when he starts looking at it, he'll probably need to go wider again to get the trucks in there eventually. And I think they're going to have to go in and come back out that way, because his access out onto the highway at the moment is pretty much unacceptable.
Happy with that, Mr Mayor.
Okay, so we're happy with that. Any further questions, councillors? If not, I'll put it. All in favour? Against? Carried.
The next report is agenda item 8.5 in relation to the 2019 Volunteers Week. And particularly Council's Volunteer Recognition Celebration. So we have already conducted a volunteers celebration in the 18-19 year, and a budget had been allocated of $6,000, $4,000 of that has been spent on the event that was held in July 2018. What we're proposing now is actually to bring the next celebration forward slightly, which will mean that it will fall into the 18-19 financial year. So looking at having a celebration in early June in Howlong with a morning tea, the awards ceremony and a light lunch. So the recommendation before you is that that you note the report on the volunteer celebration program for 2019, and also that there be a minor budget adjustment of $4,000 to provide sufficient funding in 18-19 to conduct this event.
Okay, can we have moved by Councillor Thomas, seconded by Councillor Law. Any questions or comments, councillors? Councillor Thomas.
Thank you very much for that report. I totally endorse this opportunity, considering it's 30 years this year since nationally that we've thought about our volunteers. And according to the Volunteer Australia website, let's think about this, it's the definition of volunteering. And of course, we all have this definition in our minds, so I thought we'll look it up according to their website. And their website is stating that volunteering is time willingly given for the common good and without financial gain. And that fits so well with the theme this year, making a world of difference. So we all look forward to being part of the celebration. Great.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas.
I'll just make one little clarity in the report. There was an error in the report. Liz Seeliger is very much a proud resident of Mulwala and not Yarrawonga. So at the top of the page there was my error. There was a thing that was grabbed from another source, I think, that has Liz from Yarrawonga, but it's definitely Mulwala.
Thank you, Councillor Wales.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I fully support Councillor Thomas' comments. Volunteers are very important for our community, and noting here Liz is sure to be a very entertaining speaker. True words.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Wales. If there's nothing further, I'll put it. All in favour? Against? Carried.
Agenda item 8.6, this report provides an update on the matter that was considered by Council at its last meeting in relation to the sale of land at Mulwala. And whilst I wasn't here, I understand there was some confusion at the time with respect to the lots that were actually being sold. And the council minutes identified the land for sale as lot 131, and this was in error. The correct lot for the sale was lot 136. So I understand the land purchaser has agreed to the purchase of lot 136 in substitution for 131 from the last council meeting. So the recommendation before you is that the report be noted, and also that you authorise the common seal of council to be affixed to the contract for the sale of lot 136.
Okay, thank you. We've got a move of Councillor Longmire and a second of Councillor Wales. Questions or comments, councillors? If not, I'll put it. All in favour? Aye. Against, carried. Thank you very much, Jake. And now we'll move on to the Director of Development and Environmental Services report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, councillors. I'd like to thank the staff and AGM in preparation of these reports. Obviously, I don't have time to write anything yet. The first item before you is 9.1, and that's the outlines that compliant development and construction certificates that have been approved in March. And do we have any questions or clarification required on that?
I'll get moved by Councillor Mingle, seconded by Councillor Whitechurch. Any questions or comments, councillors? If not, I'll put them. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. Thanks, Susan.
Thank you. Item 9.2 is the development applications approved under delegation.
Moved by Councillor Kennedy, seconded by Councillor Wales. Any questions or comments, councillors? If not, I'll put it. All in favour? Against, carried.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 9.3 is just a snapshot of the Aussie backyard bird count and what was found in our region compared to the Australian average. And there wasn't a huge amount of difference. Staff are very keen to see this project continue as a reliable land care service. Any questions?
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Whitechurch, seconded by Councillor Thomas. And Councillor Thomas is passing to comment. Thank you, Councillor Thomas.
Always want to talk about land care, it's great. As you all know, I'm quite an advocate for land care and what it does for our community, and I just think it's another fantastic opportunity for us to partner with land care. But I'm going to send out a challenge. We're at 35 in 2018 participants. Can we make it 50 plus? And I'd like to see all my fellow councillors register this year in November, plus my directors, plus our GM, make it over 50, and then it'd be a great opportunity to reconvene in December, because what a fantastic way to get some on-the-ground data for Federation, because then once again we can further partner with Landcare and look at increasing our native population and outing our foreign population of bird species.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. I'll certainly sign up for that one. Councillor Whitechurch, did you want to
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I've never taken much notice of the quantity of different birds in my backyard. It's normally on the negative side when I see what some of them have done, but it interests me that we've nearly got as many magpies as white cockatoos. That figure's fairly amazing, so maybe we do need some clearer statistics, because I'm sure if Councillor Longmire or some of our people on rural farms could identify the number of cockatoos or corellas that are getting around, I'm sure they'd outweigh the number of Australian magpies. But yeah, interesting the way the data's brought to our table.
quite a few glass too, Councillor Whitechurch. Councillor Longmire.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. It's interesting, Councillor Whitechurch, identifying the magpie and not so much the swan, so I can see through that opportunity, and very few hawks too. I think we need to get a count on those as well.
That's because the cats are on top.
I'm allowed to say that. But the one that interests me is, it's been pointed out to me on our sewage treatment works in Corowa. Magpie geese, I think it is. And they're very rare. I mean, there was some consternation not so many years ago about the state and the health thing of the sewage treatment work. Well, why do the magpie geese all of a sudden turn up on there, but it's not where it should be? So I think that's just a reflection on to say that there's, if I may say this, that the sewage treatment work management is spot on. So surely the magpie geese wouldn't turn up there. The magpie don't, so, you know, insincere that they'd come to that spot if it wasn't right. So there you go.
Thank you, Councillor Longmire, and certainly I know from our own backyard that in the aquatic centre here there's well over 100 varieties of birds, so I'd encourage all your councillors to go for a walk there at some stage, if not today, any other time. Councillor Meagle, did you
Mr Mayor, just thinking that the increased number of magpies may include Collingwood sports
Thank you, Councillor Meagle. Councillor Longley.
Just a comment. I live on the river, right on it, and there's not a water bird things in there. Egrets, pelicans, shags, ducks. You know, it's sort of, I just question the accuracy of that.
Councillor Longley, I think that endorses Councillor Thomas's point about everyone signing up so that we can get some accuracy in these reports. That's a good point. Thank you. If there be nothing further, I'll put it. All in favour? Aye. Against, carried.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Item 9.4 is just an update on the
Sure. Yeah, the council, as they're aware, part fund the Heritage Advisor program, so that funds the Heritage Advisor to do monthly visits, 2-day visits per month, and also parallel with that is a Heritage Fund program where council puts about $7,000 towards a $15,000 program to fund property owners mostly to do some works on their properties. And one of the ones that council have been aware of is the very significant Cora Silkworm Farm, which is an earth brick property just out the road on Spring Drive, Port Mulwala. It's got enormous heritage potential and significance, and so our Heritage Advisor's been working with the owner there. So that's one of the projects that's called up in that one. The report does talk about some other restorative work where owners are consenting on some other old properties, and I think it is making a real difference. And I guess the unusual part about this work is sometimes the Heritage Advisor themselves and their assistant do that work, because one of the bigger challenges in finding people really who've got those skills in brick repair or painting and other work that want to do that sort of work. So we're finding with our current service that we do actually get some results that way as well, which is, I think, it's a great thing for our community, identifying and giving those projects a bit of a facelift. Just for information.
Definitely, and I've got a moved by Councillor Longmire, seconded by Councillor Wales. Councillor Longmire, do you want to comment?
Yeah, if I may make the comment to our Director of Development and Environmental Services, I'm just getting that right, to make sure I do get it right. But the Corowa Pioneer Cemetery is one that is something that should be looked upon in an associative redevelopment, or not redevelopment, but upgrading. It's in poor state, absolutely. And in comment the other evening with some other people, one in particular was the neighbour on the northern side. He built a new home there, quite prepared to come on board to help in any way to effectively upgrade the fence, and anything to do with inside internally, with the trees that are there that are uplifting the road, cemetery sites, the plots. It really, and the leaves, a whole raft of things that I think we need to pursue on this one. I'm not sure how to go about it, but certainly I often see our General Manager make note of it. He may make some more notes in that regard, or perhaps yourself as our Director. But I think it's worthy of going forward with some community consultation, or whichever way, to make sure we can do a good job with our Pioneer Cemetery. I think it's worthy of it, and the fence and the gate and the rest of it, I think it's a lot of work we can do. But when you've got neighbours that are willing to support and endeavour to upgrade it, I think it's worthy of making note of that, Mr General Manager. Sure.
Thanks, Councillor Longmire, and I'd, if I could just say that I'd like to support this. It's exactly what you're talking about. I've seen the work, very passionate guy that's doing it, and the work has been amazing. Not only in cemetery areas, old buildings, bringing them up to date, making them look great again, and freshening up communities. It's fantastic. Councillor Whitechurch.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, certainly acknowledging Councillor Longmire's words and agreeing. I can put a little more light on that. I've actually been through my employment working on that house in the last week down next door to that cemetery, and the council staff, largely through the Snap Send and Solve app, have received a couple of complaints before Ms Appleyard and Ms Shannon's employment. It's been an ongoing thing where people have brought to the attention to council and councillors that the actual entry and exit and walking through the graves has been quite, not neglected, but being so old, and the tree roots and the old trees that branches fall, and perhaps the emphasis on keeping that up to speed hasn't been put there. I think the council staff are now fully aware of it, and there was quite a bit of work getting done there as recent as last week as far as clean up, break up, branches being cut. But as Councillor Longmire had suggested, and I'm sure our new directors will, once we do a little bit of a tour, see those things, it's another area that we've got to try and maintain and look after, and it is going to need a fair amount of money put into it to perhaps eradicate some of them trees that have been there for quite a long time and uplifting tombstones and headstones and graves. So worth a walk through at some stage just to see where it's at and try and work in with our heritage people, but a good job that's been done for that.
Excellent. Councillor Wales first.
Our silkworm is very important thing of this. I was very pleased to see that it's going for some attention on that. It looked a bit sad when it might be going to disappear, but hopefully it'll be right. Yeah,
Sure, Councillor Wales.
Just to comment on that Pioneer Cemetery especially, what Heritage advises and the way the legislation, the program works is, I think it probably needs a project, like we can do best we can with maintenance and all that, these sort of really important patch-up works, but it's probably warrants significance to get a heritage conservation management plan done on it, on that specific site. So I'm sure Susan will take that through and work on that, but I think that's critical now that we do restore that. And the Heritage Office have changed a lot of their funding and their heritage programs, trying to get more. It used to be the councils weren't eligible and certain things, so I think they're starting to realise that there's heritage near me and all these different programs now trying to, especially if neighbours are interested, that's really important. Yeah, because they can help.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Councillor Thomas, you're...
That was particularly on the lines of what our general manager was talking about, was the funding. I noticed we had the funding of 16,000 that we put that aside, an annual in sort of dollar for dollar with the state government heritage grants. So those heritage grants are going. Do we know that for sure for the next financial year? So we can move forward, because obviously looking at our budgets, and we've all highlighted today how significant these projects are. I mean, there's three sitting in this wonderful town called Urana, here where we are today, and then we've got one, obviously the silk farm and the cemetery as well. So, I mean, when you do those site visits and you see the beforehand, which I have done with the silk farm, we can see the progression, which is really good. We need to get that progression up, so maybe we should put a little bit more pressure on to see where this next lot of round of funding is going to come from. It's just been a change in government on the state level.
Absolutely, thank you. And Councillor Wales, did you okay? Any further conversation, councillors? If not, I'll put it. All in favour? Aye. Against, carried.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Item 9.5 is the development application for the proposed ecotourism facility and the joint regional planning on viewing date for council information.
Can I have a move, please, councillors? Moved by Councillor Longley, seconded by Councillor Thomas. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll put it. All in favour? Aye. Against, carried. Thank you very much, Susan.
Thank you.
And now I'll call for the Director of Engineering Services, Stephen.
Mr Mayor, I might just ask the report 10.11 on the Mulwala-Yarrawonga Bridge update report, if we could bring that forward just to meet some other commitments, if we could get a movement second on that.
Yes. Moved by Councillor Law, seconded by Councillor Wales. All in favour? Aye. Against, carried.
So that's 10.11.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is a brief report from the where we're up to with the Yarrawonga Mulwala Bridge project.
Sorry, 10.12. No, 10.11.
10.11. The General Manager and myself met with the Regional Manager, Mr Lindsay Tanner from RMS a couple of weeks ago. Not specifically to talk about this, but there was some other agenda items. One was the main street at Mulwala, which is an ongoing one. It was in relation to a letter that the General Manager had signed, which I had written, which I think he took a little bit of exception to, but anyway, we sorted that out. And then we started talking about the bridge crossing. And the reason I put this in as a report, and it was, I think I did mention at the last meeting that at the present time I thought we were number 7 on the priority list to get a new bridge down there. Well, he confirmed that we're now number 3. And as I put in the report, the one that's number 1 at the moment is the bridge at Swan Hill, which hasn't been designed and agreed upon, but the one at Tooleybuck in 6.2, and I know Tooleybuck's ready to go. It's been designed for quite some time. And then we fit in at number 3. The other thing he was very adamant about is whatever option we decide to do for the new crossing between Mulwala and Yarrawonga, the old bridge will be demolished. And he asked that we put that in our, when we go out for our expression of interest, or whatever you want to call it, for the preferred route, that we let the people know that whichever option they choose, whether it's the green or the grey, there will be no old bridge. And I think the other thing that he did mention, as far as he is concerned, that the Weir Bridge will close probably by the middle of next year. And I was going to write in there that somewhere that perhaps we need to lobby on that particular, because that has implications for TELUS, which is works or operates the munitions factory at Mulwala. My understanding at the moment, munitions are not allowed across the main bridge, they've got to go across the Weir Bridge. So if that closes, there's going to have to be some arrangement made for munitions to come across or go back across that particular bridge, or go around either to go to Baruga or come up to Corowa. So I'll just put that there. It's more an update, but the other thing Mr. Tanner had indicated was he was very happy to meet with us after we have our vote to see which route we decide on. So again, I'll put that in there, that we extend an invitation to Mr. Tanner to meet with council. He didn't particularly, we did suggest that maybe he wants to have a round table with Victoria and New South Wales as well, but I think initially he preferred just to have a meeting with council, and then the other meetings may flow on from that. So, the recommendation is there, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Steve. Can I have a move for that recommendation? Moved by Councillor Thomas, seconded by Councillor Whitechurch. Any questions or comments, councillors? We'll start with Councillor Kennedy.
I think, especially with the Weir Bridge lobby, we really need to do something. Lobby, as Mr. Carmichael said, the lobby that is it's a major explosive route from Tallis through to Penalla, which is where they make their ammunition. And if that shuts down, Tallis, I don't know if it's government. Surely the government can get involved, because it's a government thing about the munitions getting made. And like if we've got only down to one bridge and there's an accident on the main traffic bridge, like the two towns shut down. Like you can see that. So I think we need to contact the irrigation authorities and the owners of the Weir Bridge and really do something about that.
And Councillor Kennedy, just on that exact point, we have got a motion in the book from the last council meeting relating to that, to Michael McCormack, etc. To lobby it, yeah. Councillor Whitechurch.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, taking on board what Councillor Kennedy said, certainly Mr. Tanner being the regional manager for RMS, he's one person, and we've got a voice of a whole town and a whole region, and we're representing those people in Mulwala. And Councillor Thomas and Councillor Kennedy run into it every day. Put Mr. Tanner on a milk crate in front of the bakery and see how long he stands there for, telling people straight out that they're going to close the bridge without any supportive evidence or reasons as to why, without investigating Tallis, which is clearly one of the big things. But there's a lot of other issues that are going to come into play aside from that. So we know that something's got to happen. Everybody wants it to just happen. You know, you hear people say, just do it, just make the bridge happen, or we're not going to have one. Councillor Law said quite a few times, if we don't do something soon, we won't have a bridge. And the bridge is obviously going to be in a sad state of repair. There's a lot of tourism opportunities being taught and thrown about what you can do with the bridge. But at the end of the day, if we're third on the list, it's going to be very, very soon where something's going to happen. I totally agree with bring Mr. Tanner down, speak with him, and then negotiate the best way forward. And certainly this public opinion poll and through the process we're going to send out to all the residents. Councillor Longmire's been on that from day one. Let's get a feel for what the community wants, and let's move with that. Not just take on board what Mr. Tanner's saying.
Thank you, Councillor.
Just clarification on that. RMS don't control the Weir Bridge. That's not it's not one of their bridges. It's owned by them. Murray Gold and Warrigal, I think, has control of it, but it's not one of his bridges. The only one that RMS get involved in is the main bridge across to Yarrawonga.
Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, and how wonderful news that we've been moved up to number 3. This consideration was that we were sitting at number 7, so that was a concern for our community. 1924, the current bridge was opened. 2024 would have been celebrating 100 years. So obviously we all sit in this room, we've all had representation from people who would like to see the old bridge retained, but from our statement from Mr. Tanner, it looks like it will be removed. I think a point of call and consideration for those community members who have voiced those views to us is that we really need to get some solid information about where that where that decision was made. Was that a Victorian decision? Was that a New South Wales decision? Whether it was made inside Parliament, and if it was made in Parliament, could we get a copy of the Hansard report to distribute? Because there will be questions asked on that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Longmire.
If I may, Mr Mayor, as Councillor Whitechurch identified, I've been on it since day one and the opportunity to see what was to be done about this group. But the only thing that both entities, the state government and both councils, Moora and former Corro Shire, agreed on was the fact that they would not retain the old bridge. That's been from the day one. That's been out there on the journey for a long, long time because it is a very old bridge and no one wants to contain the opportunity of maintenance on that bridge. The Wagga example is one that stands to mind about what happened there when they kept the old bridge and they finally had to demolish it. So that's a point of view in that regard. But the other one is that we've got a federal election coming up on May the 18th. Is there any chance that we can lobby the members, the incumbent members or members for our state seat of Farrer, our federal seat of Farrer? I'm not sure how we can go about it, but certainly I think it's worthy that we make a request to the sitting member or any other candidates in some form to see what their position is, to bring them out into the open, because my understanding in the journey that 60% of the funding is federal money. And I think they've got a big, well they have, they've got the most part to play in funding this bridge. So I think it's a really opportune time to see what we can do about it. I'm not sure the Mr General Manager might be able to ascertain some sort of action that we can make happen.
Thank you. Steve, would you like to comment?
Yeah, just on Councillor Thomas' point, Mr Tanner pointed out that's a parliamentary decision to not retain the old bridges, and that was made, he indicated, a couple of years ago, because all structures on the Murray River belong to New South Wales, theoretically, well they do. So yeah, I think if you're going to, like Councillor Longmire said, if you're going to lobby, we'd be lobbying both politicians on both sides, because I've pointed out to Council a couple of times, I worked on the Robinvale Bridge, which was the last Murray River crossing. That was done 10 years ago. There hasn't been one Murray River crossing. So if you extrapolate that out on the 7 crossings that are still required, and I said there's still 2 ferries that run on the Murray River, where they haven't got a bridge at all. If you do that at a 10-year period, that's 70 years. So I think we need to start pushing to get, and before that they were doing a bridge every 2 or 3 years. A couple of times we had actually 2 on the go, so I think it's just been a real lapse of funding, which we need to try and address.
Thank you. Councillor Law first.
And I think it's very nice what we're talking about here. It's most important though that we remember we are not making the decision where the bridge goes. We are only making a recommendation as to where we feel the bridge should go. The talk here tonight, or today, is making it sound as if we are making the decision. We are not making the decision, we're making a recommendation, and that is all.
Thank you, Councillor Law. Councillor Longmire.
Yeah, if we revisit the time that the Federation Bridge was built in 2004, I think it commenced 2005, it was open, the Federation Bridge in Cochrane. Thank you. Thanks goes absolutely to the former Deputy Prime Minister for that to be pulled into position in a manner that was obtained, so what the result is there. So that's what I'm leading to in regard to the opportunity with the politicians. You know, that former Deputy Prime Minister got that bridge, there's no question about it.
And hence the name, the Tim Fisher Bridge. Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, I'll put it. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried.
Yeah.
Would someone like to move to suspend standing orders, please? Moved by Councillor Wales, seconded by Councillor Law. All for morning tea. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Nigel. The camera hasn't pressed. Simon. You guys switch.